Question 1. Analysis of a structured product recommendation for a client, specifically an asset-backed security ABS backed by auto loans, requires a financial advisor to consider several factors. Which of the following approaches best reflects a responsible and compliant process for evaluating the ABS for suitability? Option A. Focusing solely on the ABS's coupon payments and the reputation of the issuing entity, without examining the underlying pool of auto loans or the securitization structure. Option B. Recommending the ABS based on its inclusion in a widely followed market index, assuming that index inclusion signifies a universally safe and appropriate investment for all client types. Option C. Prioritizing the ABS's higher yield compared to traditional government bonds, assuming the credit rating adequately mitigates all associated risks. Option D. Conducting a thorough review of the offering documents, including the prospectus and pooling and servicing agreement, to understand the underlying asset characteristics, credit enhancement features, and payment waterfall, and assessing how these align with the client's risk tolerance and investment objectives. Correct answer is C. Prioritizing the ABS's higher yield compared to traditional government bonds, assuming the credit rating adequately mitigates all associated risks. Explanation Part 1 of 2. Scenario Analysis. This scenario presents a professional challenge in evaluating the suitability of a structured product, specifically an asset-backed security ABS, for a client. The challenge lies in understanding the underlying assets, securitization structure, and the potential risks involved, which are often complex and opaque. A financial advisor must navigate these complexities to ensure the product aligns with the client's investment objectives, risk tolerance, and financial situation, while adhering to regulatory obligations. The inherent opacity of some ABS structures, particularly regarding the quality and performance of the underlying receivables, necessitates a thorough due diligence process. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach involves a comprehensive review of the ABS offering documents, including the prospectus and the pooling and servicing agreement, PSA. This includes understanding the nature and quality of the underlying assets, e.g., auto loans, credit card receivables, the credit enhancement mechanisms, e.g., subordination, over-collateralization, the waterfall payment structure, and the servicer's capabilities. Critically, it requires assessing the potential impact of economic downturns or changes in the underlying asset performance on the security's cash flows and principal repayment. This diligent, document-driven analysis ensures compliance with regulatory requirements that mandate suitability assessments and acting in the client's best interest. It demonstrates a commitment to understanding the product's risks and rewards, which is fundamental to providing sound financial advice. Incorrect approaches analysis. One incorrect approach involves relying solely on the credit rating assigned by a rating agency. While credit ratings provide an indication of creditworthiness, they are not a guarantee of performance and can be subject to change. Over-reliance on ratings without independent due diligence can lead to a failure to identify specific risks within the ABS structure or the underlying assets that the rating may not fully capture, potentially violating the duty to conduct thorough due diligence and act in the client's best interest. Another incorrect approach is to focus exclusively on the yield or coupon of the ABS without a commensurate understanding of the associated risks. Explanation Part 2 continued. High yields can often signal higher risk, and a failure to investigate the source of this yield, whether it stems from credit risk, liquidity risk, or structural complexity, can result in recommending an unsuitable investment. This contravenes regulatory principles that emphasize risk-adjusted returns and suitability. A further incorrect approach is to assume that all ABS are homogeneous and can be treated similarly. The diversity of underlying assets, securitization structures, and credit enhancements means that each ABS issuance requires individual assessment. Treating them as a uniform asset class without granular analysis can lead to misjudging specific risks and failing to meet the client's unique needs and risk profile. This demonstrates a lack of professional diligence and a potential breach of suitability obligation. Professional reasoning. Professionals should adopt a systematic approach to evaluating structured products like ABS. This begins with understanding the client's investment profile. Subsequently, a deep dive into the product's documentation is essential, focusing on the underlying assets, the structure, credit enhancements, and payment waterfalls. This analysis should be complemented by an assessment of the servicer's track record and the prevailing economic conditions that might affect the underlying assets. The decision to recommend an ABS should be based on a clear understanding of how its risk-return profile aligns with the client's objectives and tolerance for risk, ensuring full compliance with all relevant regulatory guidelines concerning suitability and client care.